The night started with a feeling Emma could not name. It was late, the office lights were dim, and most people had already gone home. She shut down her computer and slipped on her coat, ready to leave. The building felt too quiet, like it was holding its breath. Emma had worked for Daniel Harrison for 5 years. She was his executive assistant, trusted and dependable. She knew his schedule better than her own life. Work had become her anchor after a long stretch of disappointments. She liked order. She liked knowing where things stood. She walked out to the parking lot and pressed the button on her key fob. Nothing happened. She tried again. Still nothing. Her car sat there, dark and silent. She sighed and checked her phone. Low battery, no missed calls. The sky above her looked heavy, clouds rolling in fast. She didn't want to call for help. She hated feeling like a problem. As she stood there, headlights flashed near the office entrance. A black sedan slowed and stopped nearby. The window rolled down. Emma. She turned. Noah Harrison leaned out from the driver's seat. "Oh," she said, surprised. "Hi, Noah." He stepped out of the car. He was tall, dressed simply, his coat unbuttoned. He looked younger than his age in a quiet way, like someone who listened more than he spoke. "Car trouble?" he asked. "It won't start," Emma said. "I think the battery finally gave up." The wind picked up. The first drops of rain hit the pavement. "I can drive you home," Noah said easily. "It's on my way." Emma hesitated. She had spoken to Noah many times, but always briefly. He was her boss's son. Lines were clear. Still, the rain was coming down harder, and she didn't have many options. "If you're sure," she said. "I am." She locked her car and followed him. The inside of the sedan was warm, faintly scented with clean soap and something woody. Noah started the engine and pulled out of the lot. At first they didn't speak. The city moved around them, lights glowing. Through the rain, Emma watched the street signs pass and tried to calm her thoughts. She had told herself this was just a ride, nothing more. Noah broke the silence. "You stayed late again?" he said. Emma smiled lightly. "Deadlines? Don't care." "About the clock?" He nodded. "My dad relies on you a lot." "No," she said. "It's my job." There was something gentle in his tone, like he wanted to say more but didn't know how. Emma noticed his hands on the wheel, steady but tense. Rain streaked across the windshield. Traffic slowed. "I won't be around much longer," Noah said. After a moment, Emma glanced at him. "You're leaving soon, right?" "Yeah, soon." She waited, sensing there was more, but he didn't continue. The quiet returned, thicker now. Emma's thoughts drifted. She remembered the first time she met Noah years ago, during a holiday party. He had been shy, polite, and kind. Over time, she had seen him only in pieces, visiting his father's office, helping at events, sitting quietly during meetings he didn't need to attend. She had never thought of him as part of her world. He belonged somewhere else. The car stopped. At a red light, Noah took a deep breath. "Emma," he said. His voice sounded different, careful, almost fragile. "Yes, there's something I need to say. I don't want you to feel uncomfortable." Her heart picked up speed. "Okay." He kept his eyes on the road. "I've been trying to decide if I should tell you at all." The light turned green. He drove on. Emma felt a strange mix of curiosity and worry. "You can tell me," she said quietly. He shook his head slightly. "Once I do, things might feel different." She didn't answer. She waited. "I know you see me as my father's son," Noah said. "And that's fair. But I want you to know I see you as more than my dad's assistant." Her breath caught. She looked at him, really looked at him, and saw how serious he was. "Noah, I'm not confused," he said quickly. "And I'm not acting on impulse. I've had a lot of time to think." Rain fell harder. The sound filled the car. "I've had feelings for you for a long time," he said. "Longer than I should have." Emma's mind went blank. The words felt unreal, like something from another life. "That's not." She stopped herself. She didn't know how to finish. I know the timing is wrong, Noah said.
Everything
About it is wrong. The age difference. My father, your job. I get that. Emma swallowed. Then why tell me? He hesitated. His jaw tightened. Because I'm leaving, he said. And I don't want to disappear without being honest. They drove in silence for several blocks. Emma's thoughts raced. She felt pulled in two directions, shock and understanding. She had never seen Noah this open, this vulnerable. She thought about her own life, about how careful she had become, about how she had closed doors quietly, one by one. I don't know what to say, she finally admitted. You don't have to say anything, Noah replied. This isn't a request. It's just the truth. The car slowed as they entered her neighborhood. Trees lined the street, their branches dark against the sky. Emma felt a tight ache in her chest. She wanted to speak, to find words that could hold everything she felt. But nothing came. Noah pulled up in front of her building and put the car in park. The engine hummed softly. I'm sorry if this makes things harder, he said. She shook her head slowly. It just surprises me. He smiled faintly. You've always seemed untouchable, like you had everything under control. She let out a quiet laugh. That's not true, I know, he said. That's why I noticed you. The honesty in his voice broke something open inside her. She felt exposed, seen in a way she wasn't used to. Before she could respond, Noah added, there's something else. Her heart sank and lifted at the same time. What is it? He looked ahead, then back at her. His expression was serious now, almost heavy. I got a call today, he said. My start date was moved up. Emma's fingers curled around her. Bag how soon? Next week. The word hit her harder than she expected. Next week felt too close to final. I didn't plan to tell you tonight, Noah continued. But when you needed a ride, it felt like the last chance. Emma nodded slowly. She felt the weight of the moment settling in. I don't want to complicate your life, he said. And I won't. I just needed you to know how much you mattered. To me, she took a deep breath. You shouldn't carry that alone. His eyes softened. Thank you. The rain eased, turning into a light drizzle. The street was quiet. Emma reached for the door handle, then paused. She looked at Noah one last time. I'm glad you told me, she said, even if I don't know what it means yet. He smiled, gentle and sad. That's enough, she stepped out of the car and closed the door behind her. As she walked toward her building, she didn't look back. She knew if she did, it would be harder to keep moving. Behind her? Noah sat in the car for a long moment before driving away, leaving the street just as quiet as before, but nothing inside either of them felt the same anymore. Emma stood on the sidewalk, rain dripping from her coat, staring at the door to her apartment building. Her chest felt heavy, and her mind kept replaying Noah's words over and over. Love, confession, leaving. Each word struck her like a small, sudden wave. She had spent years keeping herself in control, keeping her emotions tucked away neatly, and now everything felt messy, alive, and urgent. She wanted to run inside, close the door, and pretend none of it happened, but she couldn't. Something about that night had changed everything. The moment in the car played in her mind like a slow, vivid movie. Noah's voice had been calm, steady, yet filled with tension, as if every word he said required courage to release. She thought of how he had watched the road, fingers gripping the wheel, jaw tight, while admitting feelings she had never imagined. He could have floored her. Emma had been frozen, a mix of fear, confusion, and an unexpected thrill coursing through her. It was shocking, yes, but not entirely unpleasant. She had never realized how alive such an honest moment could make someone feel. When she finally entered her apartment, the warm air was a stark contrast to the cold rain outside. She closed the door behind her and leaned against it, letting out a slow sigh. She felt exposed, as if she had been seen in a light she had never allowed herself to be seen in before. She thought about her routine life, work, home, the predictable rhythms she had built over years. Noah's confession had broken through it all. Suddenly, she realized how lonely she had been, how much she had missed the intimacy of being truly noticed. She moved to the window, pulling back the curtain to watch the rain fall against the city lights. Her mind wandered to Noah again, and she realized just how much she had underestimated him over the years. She had always seen him as her boss's son, someone slightly out of reach, someone she would never allow herself to think about beyond polite conversation. But the vulnerability he had shown tonight had revealed another side of him entirely. Human, tender, full of courage and honesty. Emma remembered his last words, the ones that lingered in her heart. You deserve someone who can meet you where you are, not someone tied to your father's world or afraid of crossing lines. They were simple but heavy with meaning. She realized he had been aware of all the complications, all the boundaries, and yet he had still chosen to be honest with her. There was something noble in that, something that made her chest ache in ways she had never expected. She sank onto the couch and pulled a blanket around herself. Her thoughts raced uncontrollably. She wondered if she would see him again before he left. Would they pretend it had never happened? Or would the honesty between them linger, shaping the way they saw each other even from a distance? The thought of him leaving next week was unbearable. It felt too soon, too abrupt. There was so much unsaid, so much left in the quiet spaces between words. The next few days passed in a blur of work and routine, but nothing felt ordinary anymore. Every time Emma thought of Noah, her chest tightened. She remembered the softness in his eyes, the careful tone of his voice, the way he had looked at her as if seeing her fully for the first time. She caught herself imagining conversations that hadn't happened, moments that might never exist. The longing she felt was both painful and exhilarating. On Thursday evening, she received a text from Noah. "Can we meet before I leave?" Her heart jumped. She stared at the screen, unsure how to respond. She wanted to say yes immediately, but part of her feared opening the door to feelings she couldn't act on. Yet she knew she couldn't ignore him. She replied, "Yes, tomorrow." The message was simple, but it carried all the weight of anticipation, hope, and dread at once. The next day, Emma met him at a small cafe near the office. The air smelled faintly of coffee and pastries, warm and comforting. Noah was already there, sitting by the window, watching people pass. He looked up as she approached, and for a moment, neither spoke. They just looked at each other, the space between them charged with everything they hadn't yet said. Finally, Noah broke the silence. "I didn't expect it to be this hard," he said quietly, saying it was one thing. Leaving is another. Emma nodded, her throat tight. "It's hard for me too. I didn't know how much I wanted. I didn't know how much I cared." She stopped, embarrassed by the honesty creeping out of her. No one said it had to make sense. He replied, "It just is." The simplicity of his words, the lack of pretense, made her heart ache even more. They talked quietly for hours, sharing memories, regrets, and small confessions. They laughed softly at shared jokes, and sometimes the conversation drifted into silence, comfortable and heavy at the same time. Each pause was filled with unspoken longing. Each glance an acknowledgement of feelings neither could act on fully. As the afternoon faded into evening, the cafe emptied. Outside, the city lights reflected in puddles, the rain from the night before leaving everything glistening and soft. Noah looked at her with an intensity that made her pulse race. "I wish I could stay," he said. His voice was barely above a whisper. "I wish we had more time." Emma felt tears prick her eyes. "Me too," she said. She wanted to hold his hand, to tell him that she had been waiting for this honesty all along. But the reality of his leaving hung over them, like a shadow. They couldn't change it. They couldn't slow time, couldn't bend the rules of their lives to fit this fleeting, fragile connection. Noah reached across the table and gently touched her hand. The contact was electric, grounding, a quiet promise without words. Emma felt the warmth of his palm, the reassurance that he had cared, that he still did, and that in this short time they had both been seen fully. The moment was simple, ordinary even, but to them it was monumental. They left the cafe together, walking slowly down the wet streets. Neither spoke much, each savoring the presence of the other. Finally, they reached the corner where their paths would diverge. Noah stopped, turning to her. "I'll never forget this," he said. "Never forget you." Emma swallowed the lump in her throat. Neither will I. She wanted to say more, to promise him something impossible, but the words failed her. He smiled a soft, bittersweet smile, and then he was gone, disappearing into the glow of the streetlights, leaving her alone with the rain, the city, and the ache of a love that had no time to bloom, but had left a permanent mark. Emma stood there for a long while, feeling the emptiness of the moment and the fullness of what had happened at the same time. She realized that some love stories weren't meant to last. Some were meant to teach the heart, to remind it that it could feel deeply, fully, and without compromise. And even though Noah was leaving, the memory of his confession, his courage, and the quiet tenderness they had shared would stay with her forever. The city moved on around her. Lights flickering, cars passing, people hurrying home, but for Emma, the world had shifted. She had been seen. She had been loved, if only briefly. And that was enough to make her heart ache, grow, and hope, all at once. She walked home slowly, letting the night air wash over her. She knew the pain of missing him would linger, but she also knew she had experienced something rare and beautiful, something that didn't need to be claimed or returned to exist. Love, she realized, sometimes simply existed to remind a person that they were alive, capable of feeling, capable of longing. And as Emma reached her apartment, unlocked the door, and stepped inside, she carried that truth with her. It was heavy, yes, but it was hers. She had been touched by honesty, by vulnerability, by a fleeting love that had no end yet no beginning either. She smiled softly, wiped a tear, and let herself imagine that, one day, the memory of Noah would bring warmth instead of heartbreak. For now, though, it was enough just to feel. The night settled around her, quiet and gentle. And somewhere across the city, Noah thought of her too, perhaps with the same mix of longing, gratitude, and sorrow. And even though they were apart, a silent connection remained, a thread of honesty, care, and love that distance could not erase. Emma sat by her window, looking at the stars peeking through the clouds. She whispered to herself softly, "Thank you, Noah." And in that whisper was all the love, all the heartbreak, and all the hope that had defined their brief, unforgettable story together.